Good morning, students. Hope all of you are doing well. So, today we will have to cover three major topics which is related to your sixth module of the subject consumer behavior and neuromarketing. Now, what are those three topics? The first topic of discussion would be consumerism, the second topic would be ethical consumption, and the last would be sustainable consumption. So, let me tell you, these concepts are very important in the context of consumer behavior, and these concepts have to be understood well to better understand the holistic approach to the subject of consumer behavior and neuromarketing. Okay, so let us start with the session. So, the first is we'll be discussing about consumerism. So, what is consumerism? If you look at the content, I have given you the definition, the meaning, the key aspects, and so on, which has to be a part of the discussion on consumerism. Okay. Now, if you look at consumerism, this is a concept which dates back for a very long period of time, right? If you look at the situations in the past, the market was purely product oriented because we had the presence of few number of sellers or very limited number of sellers, and the market was highly monopoly oriented, or it was very monopolized, right? Now, as a result, what happened was consumers in the market did not have too many options to choose from. Okay. And because of this situation where there are very little sellers but there are more consumers, it created a very monopoly kind of a situation, and that situation gave rise to exploitation of consumers in the market by the sellers. Now, as we all know, any business for that matter, if it has to really survive and sustain in any given market, the business establishment should purely base itself on profits or the revenue, right? Now, when you know that there are consumers who actually play an important role in firms earning their share of profit, then don't you feel that you will have to take extra special care of the consumers' needs first, satisfy their wants, and then accordingly take your profits margin forward, isn't it? So that is the relevance of this concept of consumerism. Okay. Now, if you see today's scenario, the market is completely developed in the sense you have more products available, there is a wide range, wide variety, and also very huge number of product variants available. Apart from that, if you see today's market, can see that there is a lot of new entrants who have entered the market. We have foreign company products in our Indian continent. We have several products coming from different global contexts which are present in a very global space, right? Now, this is automatically trying to help us understand the relevance of the concept of consumerism. So, in consumerism, to be very specific, it is a concept wherein both citizens of a country, say consumers, and the government have joined forces together in order to fight against any sort of exploitation that is committed by the sellers or marketers in any given market. Okay. So, this is more like a movement which was taken in order to eradicate all sorts of exploitative practices which the sellers had used to exploit the more number of buyers just because the market was purely monopolized. Okay. Now let us look at the definition. So according to definition, we see that consumerism is a social movement seeking to augment the rights and powers of buyers in relation to the sellers, which means it is a movement where the government is always trying to focus more on how can the government benefit the consumers in the market, right? Every consumer has a set of rights and powers, right? So you should make sure the consumerism process will always fight for the rights of the consumers and give them what they genuinely deserve as a part of their rights, and make sure there is zero exploitation from the sellers in the market. That is what we understand by the definition of consumerism given by Philip Kotler. Now, in consumerism, we call it as a social movement because when we're talking about consumers, they become a very primitive part of a society. They contribute to a lot of profits for a lot of companies through sales and purchases, isn't it? So that is the reason we say that there is a social movement called consumerism, which not only took care of the profits, but also took care of the end users and their needs and their rights, because they are the sole purpose for which companies are surviving and sustaining in any given market. Understood? The next is we'll be discussing about the meaning of consumerism. So what is consumerism? Okay. So consumerism is an organized movement of both citizens and government for reinforcing the power and rights of consumers with special reference to sellers, which means government took very much very good initiatives just to make sure they protect the rights and interests of the consumers in any given market. Government initiated with a lot of policy changes, with a lot of laws, with a lot of trading mechanism policies, with a lot of nomenclatures. Now these kind of changes have brought about a rapid change and shift in the way consumers are being treated in the market by the sellers. So this movement was genuinely having a positive intention or a very social intention where they wanted to help all the consumers to get a fair share of the products whichever is there in the market. Okay, so this is what we understand by the concept of consumerism. Now let us discuss about the key aspects covered under consumerism. Now, whenever we discuss about consumerism, we know it's a social movement. We know that it is something where the government has joined forces with the citizens and consumers just to benefit them and make sure that they genuinely give the rights which are due to the consumers. Right? Now, apart from that, when you look at the concept of consumerism, there are certain key aspects which you will have to understand, and they also can be termed as principles to be followed. Okay, under the concept of consumerism. Fine. So let us discuss those points one by one. The first is we will talk about policies and regulations. Right now, consumerism considers the relevance and importance of protecting the policies and regulations and making sure that they are taking special care to protect the consumer rights by coming up with certain innovative policies and good regulations where these regulations will set a code of conduct for all the marketers, distributors, and sellers. As a result, the amount of exploitation exerted by the sellers on the consumers is reduced. Okay, or to a greater extent, we say that the system of marketing is very well structured, keeping in mind the due rights of the consumers. So any sort of activity which threatens the rights of the consumers should be taken care of by the government. Got it? So that is the reason they came up with these kind of initiatives so that you don't end up exploiting consumers because they form a primitive source of revenue for the entire business and also the entire economy at the large scale. Right? The second key aspect would be prescribing standards to manufacturers and its adherence, which means government made sure that they come up with certain prescribed standards in terms of quality, in terms of cost, in terms of pricing norms, and so on, so that they have a fair play in the market. And as a result, all the consumer, every single consumer in the market gets a fair chance to buy and consume. Okay. And these things are done just to make sure that you are taking care of all the pockets of the society, not just the elite section or the upper middle class or middle class, but also the poverty line section, below middle class, and also poverty line sections. Okay. The next is they also went for formulation and implementation of voluntary codes. Now, voluntary codes is nothing but every business, every seller, or say every marketer should follow certain moral principles and values, certain ethical practices to business, so that they are not trying to exploit or misuse the poor consumers or those consumers who do not have adequate awareness about or knowledge about their rights, isn't it? So that is also something that has to be considered, right? And basically government came with a lot of awareness initiatives where they said what should be the voluntary code of conduct. Voluntary code is nothing but you know uh, organically you have to initiate with some positive changes within the company where you bring about certain standards, certain norms, certain rules and regulations which will make sure that you are conducting your business in a very transparent manner and also in a much more ethical manner, so that you are not taking the negative step or the bad steps towards exploiting consumers. Okay. The next aspect is control on product and service. Yes. So here what we basically do is government comes up with a lot of rules and regulations where they exercise control on product and service. When I say control on product and service, we refer to control on the quality dimensions of products and services, control on the quality grading system on products and services, control on the pricing, control on the distribution, control on the ethical sourcing and distribution and ethical consumption. So almost all these areas, there has been adequate number of controls levied by the government so that they are taking care of the consumers' interests. Next is trading methods and mechanisms. So you shouldn't have too much of an insider trading kind of a policy, because that is going to siphon all the money, and the genuine consumers who are in need of demand or who are in need of products are not able to get what they want, right? So there should be a proper trading method and mechanism which should facilitate positive exchanges, which is not just monetary but also information based, and also it should create a good value proposition to the consumers. As a result, they get what they genuinely deserve in the market. Okay. And the last is codes for sellers and advertisers. If you see today's context, there are a lot of sellers who have sub sellers under them, and a lot of advertisers and ad agencies who come up with deceptive advertising practices where they promise high claims or they make high claims and fake promises. At the end of the day, when it comes to delivering the product, they don't make sure that they keep to the promise that they have actually committed for, right? So that is the reason we say government has to initially make certain codes in the form of rules and regulations in terms of conditions, where they say what has to be sold, to what extent it has to be sold, how you are supposed to advertise a product, what should be the transparent code of ethics and policy that you should follow when you sell and advertise products. You cannot make false claims, you cannot make big claims, and at the time of delivering poor. You know that is what is happening today. So such kind of consideration should be taken care of by the sellers as well as advertisers. Understood? So by this, we are done with the key aspects covered under consumerism. The next is we will discuss about the role of consumerism. So what are the functions? What are the activities? Or what is the critical role played by consumerism in our country? First is in consumerism, they focus on consumer education, which means you have to educate the consumers regarding what are their rights, what are their powers as consumers, so that they know when and how to exercise their powers and rights, so that the chances of them getting exploited is very less. Okay. The second is eradication of unfair trade practices. Yes, if you see, there are several people where they have something called as multi-level marketing practices, where you have for one company or for one brand, you have several distributors and dealers. You will also have sub distributors, sub dealers. This will automatically create a problem. You know how? It is going to increase the final price charged on the product, because every single distributor will put an effort for which he is going to add upon to the cost. And once the distribution cost is increasing, automatically the price quoted on the product also would increase. So this is going to create a very negative situation where you are expected to pay more than what is actually to be paid on the product. Got it? This is one thing. Second thing is we can talk about adulteration of food, adulteration of anything for that matter. Third thing is, if you're talking about faulty weights and measures, even that is also unfair trade practices. Okay, there are some people who indulge in profiteering. There are some companies or sellers who indulge in earning supernormal profits. All these things have to be completely eradicated. Okay. The third is liaison between producers and government. Yes, the marketers will always make sure that they are taking certain initiatives to get maximum profits. But in the context of consumerism, this particular social movement is always trying to make sure that it acts as an intermediary, okay, between the producers and the government, because government has certain norms and regulations. Producers will have their own interests, self-serving purpose interests. So when you have consumerism in place, it will make sure that the right norms, rules, and regulations are being framed by the government, and the same is being put to practice by a lot of producers. If not, there is no supervision. If not, there is no checking. There is no verification of the individual sellers and private producers. As a result, they can exploit consumers, right? So to make sure that such kind of practices don't take place in the market, these are the initiatives taken under consumerism or consumer movement. Okay. The next role is to improve supply. Yes, see, there are situations where there are some types of suppliers or distributors or brands where they create artificial scarcity of products. Right now, this is done with a deliberate intention or a hidden agenda in their mind, telling that if you create artificial scarcity, automatically the demand is going to go to its peak in the near coming future. Once the demand is to its very peak, that time if you sell these products or disclose these products to the market, then you can take a lot of advantage in terms of high price charges, right? So that is what we are talking about here. You should not get into such kind of practices, and consumerism would definitely go against such practices. And here, when we say improve supply, consumerism is trying to focus on improving the genuine supply of products and services to all the consumers, and making sure that everybody gets what they want at reasonable prices. Okay. The next is better customer relationship. Yes. See, your relationship with the consumer does not end by just giving him the product and then getting back the worth of it. It's nothing but the price for the product, right? Apart from this, you should make sure that you are having a good rapport with the customer. You should understand what the customer wants first. Number two, you should understand what are the problems and issues that he is facing or encountering with your products. And the third point is you should find a way in which you can re-deliver and re-offer better products and services, so that the rapport and relationship between you and the consumer is good. Okay. And you should always try to cater to the needs of people, I mean to say the consumers. Try to accept and acknowledge your flaws and defects, and try to re-engineer your products and then come up with new versions with zero defects, right? So these kind of initiatives, when taken, will automatically reduce the problem that you will face with the consumers. As a result, it is going to create better customer relationship. Okay. And the next point is product review reports are made available to customers by consumer agencies. There are a lot of consumer agencies and forums where they take up a lot of research activity. As a result of this, they are going to test various products for its feasibility, for its safety of usage, and for its durability, and many more parameters as such. And they are going to come up with a product review report, and these reports are actually being given to public. They are made accessible to the public through various forms, in the form of, through some official web pages. You can just go click and find out the reports. Based on that, you will come to know how genuine that particular product is, what are the ingredients, what are the side effects, and so on. Based on that, consumers can take a call whether to buy or not to buy such products. Got it? So this is how the key role played by, this is the kind of role that is being played by consumerism or consumer movement. Okay. The next is we are going to talk about rights of consumers. The first is right to safety. So right to safety means when you are consuming a product, that product should not create any sort of hazard, or it shouldn't create any sort of threat to your health, right? Or your well-being also. So you will have to make sure that there is adequate safety precautions taken when you produce it, when you process it, and even at the time of consumption and disposal. It should not create any problem for the consumer. The next is right to be informed. Yes, whenever you bring about some changes, whatever trends take place in the market, you will have to make sure you keep your consumers informed, because consumers should know anything and everything that is taking place in the market, so that they can make the right choice of products. Okay. The next is right to choose. You should not force sell any product to any consumer. You should give him the choice for him to make his own decision to choose the right product according to his parameters or according to his requirements. Okay. And the next is right to be heard. Yes, consumers will have problems and issues. Now, at that point of time, you as a seller should have the time and patience to listen to the problems of the consumers, and then accordingly give them what they want. Okay. The right to seek redressal is something where if your product has an issue, okay, then you should find a solution and immediately make sure you implement that solution and replace the defective product with a good product. So redressal is nothing but you should have that situation, you should create that environment where if there is a problem with your product which is seen and observed by the consumer, immediately you find a quick solution and solve the matter then and there. If you are not trying to find a solution immediately, then that can take a very big notion tomorrow, where it can lead to bad word of mouth, it can lead to bad, bad reputation of the company, and many more things like that. Okay. And the next is right to consumer education. So in consumer education, this is very important, because you will have to give the clarity regarding what are the rights of the consumers. You will have to keep the consumers updated and informed. You will have to give them all the details, right from the plus points to the minus points, I mean to say the side effects of a product, so that consumers know what to do, what to consume, and what not to consume. Understood? These are the various rights of the consumers. The next topic would be importance or relevance or need of consumerism. So do you feel that a social movement like consumerism is really relevant? Yes, the answer would be obviously yes, because today situations are totally different. You see that there are a lot of unscrupulous practices. There are a lot of companies which engage in deliberate actions, which is causing a lot of harm to the consumer society, right? So definitely a social movement called consumerism is very important, as it helps in finding solutions to a lot of issues which consumers are facing today in the market. Okay, so let us see the points which justifies the importance and relevance of consumerism. Firstly, consumers dependency on seller to obtain the required product or service. It means, or say it simply means, that today, as consumers, we are completely dependent on the sellers. Now, this situation of dependency itself is being misused by the sellers, where they go to any extent to exploit the consumers. Now, this is not right, isn't it? So that is the reason, you know that there are consumers dependent on sellers. Now, just because the dependency is there, sellers should not try to take some other methods to cheat consumers, or to force consumers to buy, or to create an artificial need to push the sales to the consumers. So these kind of strategies should not be taken up, right? So you should make sure that you will have to give importance to consumers needs first, accordingly tailor make your product and then give it to them. That is what is a good consumer base, and that is how you create a maximum share, I mean to say your market share in the market, right? The next is protection against unfair trade practices. Yes, so we have actually discussed some of these points in the previous topic also, which means any form of adulteration, any form of exploitation, any form of misusing the consumers' rights, or any form of deceptive marketing practices, or any form of faulty weights and measures. Now, all these kinds of scrupulous activities should not take place. If you take up these kind of activities, then automatically you are violating the rights of the consumers, which can lead companies to reach the courtrooms, right? The next is protecting the rights of consumers. Obviously, yes, we have discussed several rights of consumers. All of these rights have to be protected by taking necessary precautionary measures. And the next, high rate of illiteracy. Yes, if you see today, now this point is higher, it's not highly, it is higher rate of illiteracy. We know, right? In any given market, you have consumers who are well informed groups, and there are certain consumers who don't have the basic understanding of what is a good product and what is a bad product, and what are products which are fake products and what are products which are genuine products. So there is this higher rate of illiteracy, ignorance, where people don't know how to read and write and understand. They predominantly believe whatever is told to them. Got it? So that is the reason you should make sure that in a country like India, where there is this element of illiteracy in a country, you should take that initiative and step to inform consumers, educate consumers, tell them what their rights are, tell them which is a right product and which is not a so good of a product. And you should also help them differentiate between a genuine product versus a fake product. So these kind of awareness programs have to be created, where it creates very good awareness, and consumers also come to know which one to choose and which one not to, right? And the next is variety of products or services. Yes, today, because of consumerism and consumer movement, you see that there is a fair play taking place in the market, where consumers have too many options to choose from, right? As a result, they have variety which they can choose from, so that they are able to increase their standard of living and lifestyle, because they are able to fetch best of products that is available at the best prices in the market. And the next is feedback to business houses. Yes, you will get to know what is the consumer feeling about your product or the services that you're offering to him, which means companies have to keep their feedback channels open. It's not just taking the positive feedbacks. You should also be ready to accept criticisms and also negative feedbacks, so that you know where you are low or where are your gray areas and flaw areas. So it gives you an opportunity to correct your flaws and then re-deliver to the market. And apart from this, there is one more important thing, that is deceptive. Again, here deceptive, DECEP. It's not ACP. Okay, deceptive ads or advertisements. Now, what do we mean by deceptive ads? Now, there are conditions and situations where companies deliberately create a favorable situation for themselves through giving a very positive advertisement about their brand's products or services. In these cases, they are not giving the complete information, they just create an artificial information which supports the sales of their products. which is not right. So deceptive is a practice where you deceive or you cheat consumers by creating a false impression and just saying that they are very genuine and their products are of good quality. So these kind of practices should not at all take place, because any sort of deception is actually void. It is illegal, and you will have to serve, you will have to serve the jail term if any company is caught doing these kind of practices, right? So you should be very sure and very clear about what you showcase to the market, what information you share to the consumers, how you connect with the consumers interest, and how you deliver your products and services. So everything should be transparent, correct, and genuine. Fine. The next is we have to talk about, so by this we have done with the concept of consumerism. Now next we will start with ethical consumption. Now what is ethical consumption? As the term itself suggests, it is very simple that we are talking about how correctly are we consuming the products, keeping in mind the ethical values and principles. Okay. Now, first of all, this concept of ethical consumption is directly related to the area of sustainable and green consumption or green consumerism. Okay. And this term called ethical consumption can also be alternatively termed as ethical shopping or moral purchasing or ethical purchasing. Okay. Now, let us look at the concept of ethical consumption. If you see, ethical consumption is a concept where the predominant focus is on purchasing products which are manufactured in a very ethical manner, in a much more transparent manner, where they give a lot of considerations to a lot of values of consumers. And also, in ethical consumption, you will have to always buy and consume products from the local artisans, local merchants, and also from small scale firms. And by this, you are actually trying to take care of the indigenous products and indigenous sellers. Got it? And apart from this, if you see, in ethical consumption, a lot of importance is given on boycotting products or trying to cut short the products which are actually being produced using children. So any product which is produced under the pressure of child labor should not be supported, should not be purchased by consumers, because you are actually not supporting a good cause. Apart from that, you should make sure that you are not buying products which have been tested on animals, or even those products which are damaging the ecological balance factors, right? So in that process, you are actually focusing on how ethically the product has been sourced. I mean to say, the raw materials have been sourced, how ethically the product is processed or manufactured, and how ethically it is being distributed. As a result, it has a good consequence on the consumption value, right? So this flow is what matters when we talk about ethical consumption. Okay. Now let us discuss about the various methods of ways of improving ethical consumption in the market. Now, to understand this, we split it into two functional categories. The first category is called as ethical, production or manufacturing. The second category is called as ethical consumption. So let us discuss ethical production or manufacturing first. Okay. Now, under this, we are just trying to say that in the process of production and manufacturing, you should follow certain basic fundamental ethical policies, principles, and practices, so that your process of production is not abrupt. It is something which is pre planned by giving due considerations to value propositions and ethical norms. Okay. So, under that, let us see what the factors are. The first is ethical sourcing. So, you should genuinely source your input requirements from the right source, where it has a very transparent relationship, where the quality is not being compromised and the pricing also is reasonable. The second is, which means you should not end up, into activities like smuggling raw materials or scrupulously sourcing raw materials from an unknown source and then using that and then trying to showcase that the quality is good, right? This should not take place. Okay. Because there is a saying that what goes in is what comes out. So when you given a quality input to the process of manufacturing, the output is automatically going to be of good quality, right? So that has to be considered. The next is local sources. Always see the local sources of supply and try to take the commodities from them, so that you're actually helping the regional development to take place. You're also helping your local, suppliers also to grow and have a stabilized economic status. Okay. The next is nearness to sources of raw material. Now, this point can be precisely reflected upon the previous point, where you don't focus on importing products from some other source or some other location which is far off from your place of production. Instead, find a nearness source where you can get your a near source where you can get your raw material supply. Accordingly, you are giving them the revenue, they are also prospering, and you're also getting your source input. So this is like a win-win situation. Okay. And the next is ethical standards of the company. Yes, every company should follow certain basic standards and norms which will focus on ethical practices in production, sourcing, and manufacturing operations also. And then the quality norms and certifications are also equally important, where there are certain code of conducts in the form of norms, rules, regulations. These have to be genuinely followed. Apart from that, a lot of quality certifications have to be acquired by a lot of by a lot of producers, so that their process of manufacturing is more diligent, and it is also meeting the norms of the government and also the social and ethical aspects. Okay. The next is verification of manufacturing procedures. Yes, there should be certain competent authority who should come to the manufacturing layout and check and verify the manufacturing process, the system, the machinery and equipment used for the process sake, and so on. That is when they get to know to what extent they are meeting the norms of the government. The reason being, there are certain equipments where they cause pollution to the environment, where they discharge harmful chemicals, or they discharge harmful chemicals in the form of hazardous gases or in the form of chemical discharge. So that kind of process or that kind of machinery should not be supported, because that is going to create a negative impact on the ecology on the whole, right? So that is also one more point that you must keep in mind and accordingly take it forward. Now, coming to the other category, we are talking about ethical consumption. So how can ethical consumption take place? How do we justify that? Number one, you must always be clear about the differences between real needs and artificially created needs. Ethical consumption is all about consuming products which are genuinely needed by consumers, and not just because they are creating an artificial need to consume such products. Okay. The second is avoid wastage of consumables. Yes, see, you should not waste any resource. Apart from consumption, you should also talk about another topic which we are going to discuss, that is sustainable consumption. So in sustainable consumption, what do we mean? We simply mean that apart from what you want and what you consume, you should also think about your future generation needs. They also should get what you consume today, right? So on that basis, you will have to consume products and services in a much more genuine manner without any wastage, and don't try to exploit all the resources, because every country is rich in certain resources and it is also deficit in certain resources. On the whole, if you see at a very global context, there are certain resources which are becoming more extinct, right? So this situation is going to create a much more negative situation, unfavorable situation for the future consumers or our future generations, right? So that also should be taken care of. The next is avoid, you will have to make sure you shouldn't waste, make the optimum judicious use. That is what the point actually meant, right? The next is reuse and recycle, which means you should find out alternative ways and methods through which you can reuse and recycle the existing products so that nothing is put to waste. Got it? And the last is purchase from local merchants. This is always going to be better, because you're taking care of your indigenous sellers, so that once they are taken care, automatically there is going to be positivity in the environment, where we're talking about economic stability, financial capacity is increasing, the flow of capital and cash in that economy will increase. So that will create overall development for that particular area, right? So balanced growth and development is also one more consideration which has to be given importance to under ethical consumption. The next is we go to the last topic, that is sustainable consumption. So what do we mean by sustainable consumption? Now, to understand the concept, I've given you three simple points. Okay. First is when we talk about sustainable consumption, we are referring to the judicious and optimum consumption of available scarce resources, so that you are not only taking care of what you want and what needs you want to fulfill now, but you're also taking care of the future generation needs of consumption. The second thing is future generation needs for consumption, which is nothing but you will always have to create some amount of reserve and keep that very safe, so that even the future generations will get what you have tasted and what you have consumed when you were there. Got it? The third is environmental impacts on impacts of consumption. Just because you want the best of everything, you cannot go for overutilizing and exploiting the natural resources of the environment. You should make sure that you use as much as what you want, and you create adequate amount of reserves of the natural resources, so even the future generations can use that. Okay, and they shouldn't feel, they shouldn't face a situation where they don't enjoy the nature's gifts, right? So that also should be considered when we talk about sustainable consumption. And under sustainable consumption, we will have to see to what extent this concept can be practically applied. Under that, the first point is creating more awareness about sustainable consumption. Yes. So, what is the concept of sustainable consumption? How to help people in consuming sustainably so that they can save for the future generations to consume the same product, right? That is going to be the first one, where you create that awareness, tell people what is the relevance of this sustainable consumption, and also give them all the benefits so that they get to know what are the future benefits that their future generations would get. Okay, the next is development of more sustainable products. Yes, so sustainable products are nothing but products which have the capacity to be reused and recycled, so that there is nothing called as extension of any commodity. So that is the way you are supposed to focus on your, your manufacturing processes. That is the kind of products that you're supposed to produce, so that there is no wastage, and you shouldn't run out of, you shouldn't go reach a situation where you go extinct, right? So that is also important. And finally, compatible strategies for marketing sustainable products. Yes, there are several strategies which we have as marketers, but the thing is, you should see which strategy is more suitable for creating a good sales volume, a good sales potential, and also awareness about the sustainable products and how these products can help consumers, not only for today's not only to today's context, but also for the future consumers. Understood? So students, by this we are officially done with the sixth module of consumer behavior and neuromarketing, and we have completed all the discussions. There were some topics which were already covered, and there were these topics where students had some issues, they had some queries. So I have given you the clarity on these concepts. I hope this was helpful for you. So what you should be doing is, you should start studying this, and if you still have some doubts, please let me know. I'll help to solve them. Okay, I hope this session was informative and insightful, and I hope all of you are able to understand and connect with what I explained. And you should make sure that you work on a lot of cases on the same areas, so that it helps you to apply the conceptual knowledge to real life marketing conditions and situations. Okay, so fine students, we will stop it here for today, and if you still have any questions and queries, you please let me know. Okay, thank you students, take care.